Hey, good morning. Let's go over today's trade plan. So in the overnight session, the market has been balancing within a range, and off the open, it can technically tip in either direction. We know that the bigger pattern so far is still being developed, and there's still potential that it can turn more bearish, and that's what we're trying to figure out right now, is whether the recent liquidation is going to have any kind of follow through, or whether we're just going to stabilize here and then start testing higher resistance areas. And that's why we have to be open to a move on either side. But in the event that the market breaks the 38 quarter to 40.75 initial support, then we know that things could get a little bit more bearish on the day time frame, because the larger pattern that would be in play would also be bearish. So you'd have some level of time frame alignment happening there. So in the event that the market breaks initial support, we know that we can quite easily test 32 to 34. But at that point in time, we would have to see how the market is developing intraday, how it's approaching the 32 to 34 area, and how the other markets are holding up as well. If everything is selling off on broad market weakness and a lot of downside momentum, then we may not get a big response at 32 to 34, and even that zone may get taken out. Again, that's something we will have to determine in real time. In the event that we take out 32 to 34, we can quite easily tag 28 quarter, 29 quarter, and the only time it would make sense to fade that zone is if we were seeing signs suggesting a failed breakdown attempt. But if we're breaking down on broad market weakness and strong and sustained downside momentum, with the other markets also breaking their recent lows or just at least liquidating to the downside, then we would have to be cautious on long setups as a whole, and that means at the 28 quarter, 29 quarter zone as well. If the market gets exhausted into a support zone, then responsive buyers could be active. So if we are short-term exhausted into the 24 to 26 or one of the zones below, then responsive buyers could still technically be active there. On the upside, we have some resistance from the overnight session at 49.5 with a previous VPOC at 50, initial resistance 51 quarter to 53 quarter, and then yesterday's high at 55 quarter to 56 quarter. Now on the upside, in order to break out beyond 55 quarter to 56 quarter, we would have to see a lot of intraday strength across the board in the other markets and sustained upside momentum. And simply a lack of extreme strength or sustained upside momentum at 55 quarter to 56 quarter can result in a failure. And in the event that we go beyond 55 quarter to 56 quarter, we can still get sell side active, potentially at the 59 quarter HVN, at the 61 to 63 zone, at the 64 half resistance level, and 66 half to 68 half. So the main idea today is that off the open, the market can tip on either side, but if it tips to the downside, then it would be in alignment with the bigger liquidation that took place earlier this week, and that can accelerate the movement to the downside. But if we head back up into resistance at 51 quarter to 53 quarter or 55 quarter to 56 quarter and then try breaking out, that breakout could actually fail still because of that bigger liquidation pattern, and because sell side can still defend pretty much every resistance zone as we get exhausted into resistance to the upside. So it's going to be more difficult to push the market significantly higher unless it's some news driven move. So that's something to keep in mind. There could be a vote on the Trump Care or American Healthcare Act today, and that can actually drive the markets as well. So that's something to just be mindful of. But overall, we are still going to continue to be more cautious on the long side. And if we are not seeing any intraday signs of strength, then it's better to avoid the longs and still keep the overall focus more on the short side. So unless we're seeing a lot of strength off the open, then we can still technically short at the resistance zones above. And on the downside, in order to take long setups, again, we have to see some evidence in real time. And I think keeping an eye on the other markets is going to be valuable as well. So far, NASDAQ has been leading and it's been holding up pretty well. But if NQ takes out the 47 quarter to 51 quarter area, then it would serve as a confirmation that sell side is taking over again, and that can result in more downside pressure in the S&P. So those are the main ideas heading into the open. Let's see how the market responds to initial support and the overnight high and the initial resistance area. That'll help set the bias and tone on the day, and we'll take it from there.